Unmute. Can everybody hear me? Is my volume working? Can everybody hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, let's give everybody about 2 minutes to get over. It took me a second to get in from the Zoom, and let's get everybody a chance to get here. Mr. Curtis, I'll let you take over.
Earl, can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine, sir.
I am your moderator, and for some reason, I cannot find your introduction. I am the person that's supposed to introduce you today. But I had sent you a chat. I sent you something yesterday or the day before for us to get more engaged, but nevertheless, I'm gonna do my best to take care of you.
I got you, sir. Let me see. That is fine. I think that, let me see, hold on. Well, let's do it this way. We can make this work.
Okay.
Share screen. It's at the bottom of there. Can you read that?
Hold on a second. Hold on. Yep. I can read it.
I'm ready when you are.
All right. Well, I will tell you, everybody raise your hand if you can see me or whatever. You can hear me, correct, Earl?
I can hear you just fine.
All right. All right, without a doubt. So without further ado, let me introduce to some and present to others Earl Hilliard. He serves as the Senior Director of Governmental Affairs for the Mayor's Office. He is an attorney, filmmaker, and public speaker. He was the 2018 District 77 District B Toastmasters International Speech Contest Championship. Very good, very good. He achieved his DTM, Distinguished Toastmasters Path. He achieved his DTM, Distinguished Toastmaster Award in Pathways, and completed the Pathways Mentor Program, certified in June of 2020. Earl has now gotten a mentor and is following the path towards being an accredited speaker designation. Without further ado, with all your jazz hands, please help me welcome Earl.
Well, thank you, everybody. I truly appreciate you being here as we try to learn about the DTM and the pathways. Now, this is not my first time by far talking about getting a DTM and pathways. I've taught pathways around, I want to say around the country, but basically on this Zoom stuff. I've taught pathways, and I've talked to a lot of different people about what it is to have your DTM. So without further ado, let me say this. I have my Pathways DTM, but I started on the Legacy program. So I got my CC, a Competent Communicator, in the Legacy program. So I know there are a lot of people out there who either have their DTM, but they got it from the Legacy program. And some people are having difficulty transitioning over to the Pathways program. I have talked to a lot of people that are just trying to figure all of this out. Now, for me, it was easy. I got in 2018, I got my Competent Communicator. And then later that year, I wanted to compete in the first international contest. So I had to get my competent communicator. But then after the contest was over, I decided that I wanted to go ahead and switch over because everybody told me, well, you only have a year and a half to get in the pathways deal. So I was like, let me go ahead and switch now. And I'm gonna tell you, I'm actually glad I did. There are a lot of people who think that the legacy program was really great, and it was, but it was at its time. But now transitioning to pathways, it's actually a phenomenal program. Now, I'm gonna show you, actually, let me tell you exactly what we're gonna do here so you know how it's breaking down. First, I'm gonna show you a 2-minute and 28-second video. This video is from about 2 years ago, but it was at the transition of pathways. And what it did is it started to tell you how to get your DTM in pathways in the legacy program. Then it talks about the pathways program and it tells you what was subtracted from the legacy program and how it did it. Then what we'll do is we'll go through a small PowerPoint and we'll talk about each of the sections of what you need to do to get your DTM. Then I'm going to actually take you to a path and we're going to talk about the different sections of the path. And then we'll end it up at the DTM application so you can actually see all of the things that you actually need, because there are a lot of things that actually aren't in the program guide. And then we'll have Q&A. And McKinley, if you have questions that come up, feel free to interrupt me. I'm not going to be able to see a chat right now because I'm about to share my screen. And so I'm not going to be able to see the chat. I'm about to turn the video on. But if you have a question, please go ahead and ask. But the way I'm going to do it, there'll be a summary, then explanation, and we'll move forward from there. So let's start with where do we have here? Let me do this. So everybody should be able to see in just a second. Here we go. So you should be able to hear it too.
How do you become a DTM in pathways? First, let's look at the current program. The current program consists of a communication track where you have to complete manuals, as well as some individual canned speeches from the Better Speaker, Better Club series, present a communication and youth leadership, and coach a member. On the leadership track, you had to complete more manuals, serve 6 months as a club officer, doing presentations from the successful leadership or successful club series, plus service 12 months as a district officer, and be a club sponsor, club mentor, or club coach, and then complete an HPL project. In the new program, let's strip away all the stuff that is no longer necessary. And then we look at our pathways. First of all, we have to complete 2 paths. Then we have to complete a DTM project, which is similar to an HPL project. We then have to not only serve 6 months as a club officer, but an additional 6 months as a club officer. So in essence, an entire year as a club officer. Then serve 12 months as a district officer. That's the same as the current program. Next, you must serve as a club mentor or club coach, and serve as a club sponsor, or conduct a youth leadership workshop or one speechcraft workshop. See the differences there. Once you complete all that, you can become a Pathways Distinguished Toastmaster. This is important to note. Credit received before rollout of Pathways can be used if you haven't been used for an educational award previously, such as serving as a club officer, serving as a district officer, being a mentor, a coach, or a sponsor, or conducting any of the leadership or speechcraft workshops. Anything done in the old program that hasn't been used as part of an educational award can be used towards a Pathways DTM.
All right. So that was the first thing I wanted to show you. I love to start off with an overview, something that you can actually see that will actually show you exactly what you had to do. Now what we'll do is we'll actually go through, if my computer will stop sticking, we'll actually go through, let me see, here we go. Let me get it where you guys can see what I'm doing. All right, can everybody see the Can everybody see the PowerPoint now?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
All right. So, come up. There we go. So this I got from the internet. You know, the funny thing about the internet, Toastmasters.org is a phenomenal place to go for information. I tell people all the time that people have so many questions, but if you just do a search, you can find videos, you can find all the resources you need. But also a lot of times I just Google it because there's so many Toastmasters through projects and other things have put information. And this is one of those things that says how to be a distinguished Toastmaster, but it's also pathways. So this is a person who went through, and I decided to put it in PowerPoint form just so as to go through the different things. So if you go look it up right now on the internet, you said, I want to be a Pathways DTM. This is what it'll tell you. It'll say complete 2 learning paths, say serve as a club officer for 12 months, serve a complete 1-year term as a district officer, serve successfully as a club mentor or coach, serve successfully as a club sponsor, conduct a speechcraft or youth leadership project, or complete a DTM, complete the DTM project. Well, the thing about it is that's great, but there's a lot more that you need to know after that. So complete the 2 learning paths. I chose, what was I doing? I did motivational strategies, and then I also did coaching. So effective coaching. So I chose those 2, and we'll go through effective coaching just so I can show you the 2 different things in the path. This is the way it works. In the old program, I mean, basically each path, they say, consists of about 15 projects or speeches. It's actually a little bit more of that according to what you choose. When you get to the 3rd level, then there are electives you can choose, and you can choose whether you want to go more for the leadership path or if you want to go more for the speaking path. But once again, you get into the projects, and when you get into the projects, it's according to how you are and what kind of thing you want to do. It shows you here, if you speak once a week, you complete this in about 7.5 months. It took me about 2 years, right under 2 years, to get my Pathways Toastmaster, because as I told you, I completed my competent communicator in February of that year. And then in July of 18, I started my first pathway speech, my icebreaker. And then I had my DTM in June of 20. So it took me basically 1 month under 2 years. And that was with a very aggressive nature to trying to do that. So as you can see here, basically, if you compare it to the old program, this has fewer speeches. The old program had about 40 speeches. This has about 30 speeches, but trust me, works out in what the new program has you do. You have to serve as a club officer for 12 months. Now, for those people who know that some of your clubs create different positions and different officers, these are the ones you get credit for. President, Vice President of Education, Vice President of Membership, Vice President of Public Relations, Treasurer, Secretary, Sergeant at Arms, and Immediate Past President. Now those, well, actually Immediate Past President, I don't think that one counts as a new title, but those are the ones that you have to do. I've known some people who ran into some problems at the end because their club decided to create a new position and that position didn't count. So in other words, these are all positions you run for and you get, and that's what counts. And you have to serve as a club officer for 12 months. Now, I know some clubs divide it up and like they say, and you do it in 6-month installments. You can do a 6-month installments and then do a 6-month later on. And that will suffice for your club officer. Then you have to serve a complete 1-year term. I'm sorry?
We are not seeing the screen you are talking about. All we see is the first screen for how to be a distinguished TM.
It's not moving?
No.
Okay, let me do this then. Thank you for telling me that. I'm going to switch. Tell me if you see it in just a second. Hold on 1 second. I'm going to go out of it and then come back in. All right, what about now?
I see you.
You see me? Okay. All right, here we go. I'm going to do it differently. Can you see now?
Yes.
Okay, so let me just zoom in. Okay. So we've gone past this, and here we go. Complete 2 learning paths. We did the pass. These are the positions I just told you about, the club officer roles, where you have president, vice president of education, vice president of membership, public relations, treasurer, secretary. And then we go to serve a complete 1-year term as a district officer. And unlike the club officer roles, you have to be the district officer for the entire year. And if you go down to this corner, you can see the district council, and then you see the district executive committee members. These are the only ones that you get credit for the year for your district position. And that's district director, program quality director, club growth director, administration manager, finance manager, public relations manager, the division directors, area directors, and immediate past practice. I was the PRM, or the public relations manager, for 77. So those are ones that you have to put a little more thought into, because obviously those last a year. So if you're trying to aggressively, you need to start obviously going to the conferences, meeting people, because those are voted on by their large members. So that's one of the ones, and that's one of the more difficult ones to do. I believe that, and I'm going to go on to the next one, which is whether you can go be a club mentor or club coach. I believe nowadays, because club coach is such a sought after thing, and Jessica, correct me if I'm wrong, but you can take a club coach, and I believe you can get credit for your district director position by being a club coach. Is that correct, Jessica? I'm pretty certain that is.
Well, you don't get credit for the district director position, but you can be district director and be club coach and get credit for both.
Okay, gotcha. So the next step is you have to successfully serve as a club mentor, or club coach. Now, I'll tell you, this has caused some issues. I know some people thought that you could choose to do different things because there's also sponsoring a club. I was a club mentor as opposed to a coach. This kind of explains it a little bit better, but a club coach is, and this is a summary, is someone who helps to rebuild a club, revive a dead club. There are goals involved. You have to be, I think, distinguished at the very end of it. And so that one's a little bit more difficult. Club coaching can actually take a little bit more than a year. It can take 2 years. For the club mentoring, it's a little bit different, which is what I chose to do, which is it was a brand new club that I actually helped sponsor the club, the Birmingham City Club, which we had a whole bunch of people to join. I think we started off with like 60 something members. And then I mentored the club past that. So you advise, you help everybody get on pathways, which is what I did. You know, you start the club, you're at every meeting and you do it. And Sarah Hester and I, we co-mentored the Birmingham City Club. So I advise that you really look into it. Both mentoring and coaching are very important things. It's a little bit different than the Pathways mentorship program, but it's definitely a great thing to do. So I suggest that if you're really thinking about doing that, that you think about it, but just see what your personality is, whether you want to be a mentor or coach. I do know that usually club coaches are harder to get, so they actually will credit you for more things than it, but you have to obviously check with Toastmasters International on that. And then serve successfully as a club sponsor, conduct a speechcraft or a youth leadership program. Now, a club sponsor is basically creating a new club. That's the one that everybody knows about. That's the one that obviously, especially in times like this where it's hard to get membership, that one can be a little bit harder to do. But creating a new club is club sponsor. And then a speechcraft is obviously, it's a workshop. It can last lots of 4, 6, 8 sessions, but it's designed to teach basic public speaking skills. It's an introduction to class that kind of teaches people about public speaking, but also introduces people to Toastmasters. If you have present members, it serves as a refresher course on the principles of public speaking. And like I say, in a sense, it serves as a training tool, training workshop, or membership recruitment tool. And you have to be the main conductor to get it. And then lastly, you've got a youth leadership program. The youth leadership program is like Speechcraft, but it aims to teach public speaking and youth leadership skills to youth. And so that's important. And so that's really the summary of what you have to do. The last thing for those who haven't gotten it yet is to complete the DTM project. In the old or the legacy version, you had an HPL. But in this version, at the very end, after you complete your 2 pass, you have the DTM project. Now, I like to tell people, and this is my version of it, The HPL, the High Performance Leadership Project, was a huge project that you do that's inside of Toastmasters. For me, I consider the DTM project to be a huge project that you do that you combine your speaking and your leadership stuff. You combine that, but you do it for people outside of the Toastmaster universe. You use Toastmasters, you can work with it, but it's not necessarily a project inside of the Toastmaster universe. When we get a little bit further, well, actually, I'll tell you now, for my DTM project, it was at the very beginning of COVID. My church stopped. So for my DTM project, I actually took our church online. So we actually created the Sunday school, because people always ask me, well, what did you do for your DTM project? We actually took all the teachers. I convened a committee. I had to get with the deacons of the church, the trustees of the church, and we actually put it together. We actually did the lessons. We did it, and then we teach every Sunday. It's still going on now, a year and a half later. So that was a DTM project that got me my credit for doing an overall project. We had to do a 360-degree report. Well, they had to do one on me. You had to have a certain amount of meetings and things for the DTM project, but it's really a wonderful thing. So when you think about what you'll do for your DTM project, it can be a lot of different things, but that's what I did. So if you look at here, if you try to go and you try to find the DTM project, you really can't. As you can see here, to even unlock the DTM project, you have to do level 5 on your first path. So whatever your first path is, you have to get to level 5. And then when you get to level 3 on the second path, as it shows you here, you send an email to educationprogram@toastmasters.org, and they'll add your project to the transcript. So then you can see the information on it and you can get all the information. And toastmasters.org is updating all the time. So you may even be able to get a little bit more information on it already. And there's a lot of different things to it. Let me stop.
So Earl, you have a question.
Okay.
Someone wants to know, can you do a DTM project to something related to your job?
Absolutely. There are tenets and traits to the DTM project. So it's putting together a group or an organization. You have to meet a certain amount of times, and that's documented. So let me tell you, there's paperwork for each of the stages. So there'll be a 360-degree report that the person has, and it has to be documented. And you actually take notes for the different sections. You have to have a certain amount of meetings. You have to put together a committee. So what it's doing is, as we'll see in a second, when I actually go to Toastmasters, you have to actually put together a group of people, because it's the leadership organization, have a certain amount of meetings, put people in charge of different things. But yeah, you could do something associated with your job. It would have to be a project with a determined end, and something that you completed something, so you could say the start and the beginning. So it can't be something that your job is just already doing it.
Okay, thank you.
All righty. Any other questions before I move on?
Please continue.
I will. So I'm pulling up right now. Let me bring this back up so you can follow along with me. Share my screen. Here we go. Here we go. All right. So now what I want you to do is just follow along with me. For those, I know some people have problems with the Toastmaster website. Some people don't. What we're doing now is I've gone into Basecamp, and I am about to, tell me if for some reason you can't follow along. These are my two paths right now: engaging humor and visionary communication. But what I want to show you, those are my two new paths. What I want to show you is, I want to show you what I used to be, where I used to be, and that was effective coaching. And you have, once you finish it, it goes away, but it's just in your archives and you can go get it. So this is what, I'm sure most of you have seen this. And this is the way I like to explain to people how Toastmasters takes you along. When people ask me, well, why DTM? One of the things I didn't tell you in my introduction was this. When I joined Toastmasters, I really had no thoughts about, I didn't know what a DTM was, didn't care, didn't think anything about leadership. I just wanted to be in the contest. I was looking for a place. I wanted to be a public speaker. I was looking for a place that would actually teach me the tenets and traits of teaching. I had been speaking for years, but nothing had actually shown me how to do it. A friend of mine mentioned that he had gone to a Toastmasters meeting. I said, well, what's that? I went and then competed in the contest, and believe it or not, got tired of speaking, because after doing my competent communicator in a few months, having to do 10 speeches that quickly. And then during the contest, I was burned out, but I would still just go to the meetings and people start saying, well, hey, why don't you be a Toastmaster? Why don't you be the Toastmaster of the day? Why not be the general evaluator? And I started doing things. And that's when I got really more involved in the leadership. So when I actually got after the company communicated, I was actually kind of distracted by Pathways. I was like, well, I don't like this. It's online. But after I got into it, I'm going to tell you the way they integrated in for those who are transferring from the legacy program. If you actually did the Confident Communicator, which was the first one I got, which was the first one I did, if you actually did that, the book was great. But the way this integrates it in, the way I describe it is like this. The level 1, as you can see here, it says icebreaker, evaluation and feedback, researching and presenting. This is for you. So the level 1 is about you becoming a better speaker. I don't care what level you are or how good you think you are at speaking. If you take this seriously, as you know, when you go into each one, there are videos that actually show you how to do an icebreaker. So for those who go, I don't really know what I'm supposed to do, they have videos that show you in different techniques and they walk you through different things. Everybody knows the icebreaker is the one that you talk about yourself. But then you've got evaluation and feedback. So you do a speech and then somebody gives you evaluation and then you do another speech and you use the critique, you use the evaluation for the first one. That is invaluable because sometimes we think we get evaluations and we don't put it back into the next speech. This one causes us to have to because we see it and you integrate back in those things. And then the research and presenting. A lot of times I have people that come to me and go, well, what do I talk on? When you're at these club meetings, you guys know, you have people saying, well, I don't know what subject to talk on. With researching and presenting is great because what they do is it shows you how to choose any topic and it teaches you how to do research and then how to present that research. Sometimes you'll get people that use statistics and they'll kill you with statistics. They'll kill you with too many facts. Well, what this does is this actually shows you how to put in just enough facts, how to have your introduction. How does that introduction look? And then have your 3 points, or at least have points that illustrate and then back up each of those points. And then the conclusion that goes back through your introduction and your 3 points so people understand what you're doing. As I told you, I was looking for something that would help make me better. And that did it, just being able to do those. So what's level 2? So when you click on level 2, this is the one I told you, level 1. It actually told you about who you were and teaching you how to speak. It had that research, it had that evaluation, the other things. Well, this one's talking about leadership. So they switched you. You know that Toastmasters has that speaking and leadership track. Well, level 2 is the one that helps you understand you better. Now, these are slightly different according to which track you're on. But for effective coaching, it's understanding your leadership style, understanding your communication style, and then it's the introduction to Toastmasters mentoring. The reason why that's important, understanding your leadership style lets you understand who you are. Are you democratic? Are you autocratic? My style was democratic, which means that I like to take people's input, take that, and then we come to a decision together. Well, that's great for a lot of different situations, but it's not great for a lot of them. You have your people who are more autocratic, which they want to make a decision and they want people to support them. Then you have more of a mentoring style. If you understand your leadership style, it actually helps you in your speaking. How do I relate to people? Understanding your communication style. What kind of communicator are you? How do you look at people? How do people see you? That can help you as you understand what kind of leader you are. It helps you in your projects. A lot of times, learning what your communication style is, what your leadership style tells you how to place yourself in groups. And then Toastmasters, and you'll see in level 3, it gives you projects where you can put those things together. Now on this one, effective coaching, because of the nature of it, it had introduction to Toastmasters mentoring. And that's an important one because once you start mentoring people, first you talk about what kind of mentor, who is your mentor, then you understand the values, and then they explain the difference between coaching and mentoring, which is important because a lot of people don't necessarily understand that. As we move on to level 3, now here's where the first level was your speaking. The second level was your leadership. Now this is where it starts merging it in. So this one for effective coaching was a project on reaching consensus. So you take a whole team, a whole meeting, and you take 20 to 25 minutes and you talk to people and you learn how to do it. That's one of the things that's according to which one you go into. But this is what I want you to see, because everybody will see these. Your electives and the third level, these are the easier electives. If you guys can see my screen, you can see the effective body language. So for those who's familiar with the competent communicator, it's back. Active listening. For those of you familiar with the competent communicator, it's back. But here are the things. Know your sense of humor. They've added things. Preparing for your interview. We have to understand that people in Toastmasters are here for different reasons. Some of us want to speak. Some of us want to lead. Some of us want to be better mentors. A lot of different things. Look at this, making connections through networking. What it allows you to do with Pathways is to grow in a different kind of way. It allows you to do a different kind of process, and then you can learn about yourself using presentation software, delivering social speeches. So you can take chances. You can do the speaking thing, but you can also get better. Look at this, creating effective visual aids. So for those of you who go, well, I think that Pathway is too restrictive. It's not. As you progress, it takes you from the speaking to the leadership and now integrating those in. When we get to level 4, now you get to the interesting kind of stuff. Improvement through positive coaching. Now, this one is a real one because it can take months. This is where you're actually putting a project together for one of your mentees or for somebody, and you have to walk them through. And then you have more elective projects. Now, these elective projects now take you to a level of Toastmasters showing you how to be better and creating things that make you possibly, if you want to make this a career or do something, look at this, create a podcast. My mentee, or one of my mentees, she's since graduated from in my mentorship program, and she now mentee, as her project, she did create a podcast. That was a year ago. She now has hundreds of members on her podcast that she does every week. So what I'm saying is I did building a social media presence, and I went with LinkedIn and some other stuff, and we did projects. You have to show people where you started from and grow. So these are things that we need to do as speakers and leaders anyway. And this is almost forcing us to do something that takes us outside, and it's a growth process. So by the time you get your DTM, you've accomplished something. Write a compelling blog, manage an online meeting, Q&A session, public relations strategies, manage projects successfully. As you can see, as you get higher, the projects grow. So you thought that an HPL was the only thing, or the DTM project. No, there are lots of things that make you better. Now, here's the trick. Everybody kept making you think that the HPL disappeared. It didn't. So I had to do a DTM project, but I also got the HPL too. Now, that's not in every path, but in effective coaching, I thought I was dodging effective coaching, but I really wasn't. So with that being said, I've done that. And then lastly, you get to path completion. Reflect on your path is something that people probably haven't told you about, but it's a speech that you have to go back, and then you have to actually look at all of the different things that you've done, and you have to do a final speech that will take you a little bit further through what you've done, so everybody knows what you've gone through, what you've grown through. So I thought it was really good. I was trying to show you one more thing before we move to the last point, before I get to Q&A. Let me see if it'll come up really quickly. Sometimes my computer acts really slow. So this is when I completed the path, but I wanted to show you something that it has. For those of you who may not have gone through Pathways or gotten pretty far yet, it has a lot of exciting things. One of the things is the evaluation resource. You can kind of work backwards if you want to. What the evaluation resource does is every time you finish a project, you're doing a speech, you give this to whoever's going to evaluate you. And then it tells you what the speech was. As you can see at the top, has the speech link, but it says the purpose of this project is for the member to reflect on their growth and the completion of the entire path. This is important because it tells you what to do, but it tells you, look, you excelled at, you may want to work on, and then it has the evaluation form. I have kept all of my evaluation forms, so I have stacks of these things. I just think that you want to make sure that you pay attention to this kind of stuff, and that you know the various things that they have to offer in Toastmasters, that you use the evaluation resources, and that you really pay attention to it. And lastly, last thing, tell me if you can see, can you guys see my screen now?
Yes, yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
This is the last thing I want to go over before the Q&A. This is the actual application that you have to fill out to get your DTM.
You're on the evaluation form right now.
Yes, yes, that's what I'm looking. You see it?
I see the evaluation form. Reflect on your path, not an application.
Okay, you should see the application.
No, evaluation form.
Okay, hold on 1 second. Let me do this. Let me see if I can pull this up real quick.
So while you're pulling that up, someone put it in about not printing anything. Of course, they can also go into Pathways, save it electronically as well. So it's always there. So you don't really have to save it in a paper copy, but you can also just put it inside your folder in your portfolio.
True, and that's really important for the people who don't prefer paper. I'm a little bit older than I look, and I still like a lot of paper around. Can you see this Distinguished Toastmaster Award application now?
We can see
Yes.
it, and we have 7 minutes.
Okay, no problem. I'm going to go through this really quickly. The only reason I want to show you this is so you know actually what you need to complete it. Here it goes. It's the actual application you fill out. That's the easy stuff. The path completion. You have to write your 2 paths and the date you completed them. You have to write the completion date for your Distinguished Toastmaster project. You have to do the offices held and your obviously the officer roles you've held. But here's one thing that caught a lot of people, or several people. You have to, when you're an officer, help prepare the club success plan that has to be signed off on, and you have to put it here. And then also you have to attend officer training. And so you have to have those dates. So we might want to remember to have all that stuff present. You have to have your district leader role completion dates, your club mentor dates, your club sponsor dates. You have to say you served, obviously, and then you have to have your club officer verify that you did it. And then lastly on here, they ask you where, if you get this, do you want to send the employee a letter? I just put down the mayor on here just because that's who I work for. And believe it or not, I didn't even think back on that anymore. I just put the mayor on there. And one day I was at work, we were in this huge department head meeting, and they did this huge announcement that I got in my DTM. It's a surprising thing that can happen. So make sure you put that down when they ask you who do you want it sent to. I want to say I appreciate you guys being here for this presentation. McKinley, if you have any questions, or if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask now.
There are no questions in the chat, but someone said, awesome. I will tell you, Earl, that it's a process, because again, a lot of this you have to, I think strategically as far as how you want to create your paths. So I am, believe it or not, I'm not a DTM, but I'm by May I'll be finishing up my second pathway path, and I'm using that to follow things so that when I do create the paperwork, I have everything in order, if that makes sense. Even this morning, someone asked me, did I want to be a mentor? So again, I need that. But again, it's a matter of what is strategic, works best for you at the same time, if that makes sense.
True. And I'm going to tell y'all, getting my DTM meant a lot more to me than I thought. Just the level of consistency with speeches and things made me feel more confident when I do presentations. By the time you finish, you move so much. I'm going to tell y'all, a lot of my mentees got promotions at work. A lot of people that just took Toastmasters just because they got promotions. It's amazing how the consistency of giving speeches and doing these projects and working as a team will make you better and the people around you better. And people ask me all the time at the city different things about Toastmasters. And then I go out and I talk to a lot of people about it. So I'm just saying, if you're thinking about it or you're not sure how it has value, trust me, when you start getting to level 3 and level 4, it's amazing if you actually look at the videos and actually look at the things that they have to help you, how much better it makes you.
Absolutely, but I'll be staying connected with you, so absolutely, absolutely.
And we started cracking all of a sudden. I don't know. McKinley, I don't know what happened. All of a sudden we started getting cracking.
I don't know either.
Well, I can't hear you, McKinley. Oh, I think that, let me see, I think that it's gone now. McKinley, I think maybe it was our system.
All right, so within 2 minutes, it says, do you have a way to find a club list that needs a mentor other than our district? Is there a way to find a club list that needs a mentor other than in our district?
I think if I heard you correctly, Curtis, I mean, McKinley, you were saying, if you want to be did you say if you want to be a mentor, is there a way to find out the clubs that need mentors?
That's not our district or in our, other than our district. Someone asked the question, other than our district.
Oh, well, I'll tell you this, as far as from what I know, as far as club coaches, I hope everybody can hear me. As far as club coaching and club mentoring, either the area director, the division director, or the district director, they can tell you the clubs that are in trouble, are the clubs that need mentors, or the clubs of coaches, the clubs that need coaches. I would tell you to reach out to whatever area you wanted to. So if you wanted to go to and coach or mentor, I can't tell if it's breaking up or not, but if you wanted to coach or mentor in another direction, let me see. See.
We were frozen for a while.
Okay. Oh, I don't know if there's, I see your question. I do have a way to find a list of clubs. I'm sure that either the district director or the area director or the division director would have that information. That's how I find out. So our area director actually came to me and told me that there was a club that needed a mentor. And the district director has many times come to me and says, I don't know if there's a list of clubs, but I'm sure there is, and they probably could send it to you. I would really say that if you could just probably reach out to the district director and find out. I hope I answered your question.
All right, I think you did. Well, we're out of time. It's 10:15. So you got a closing comment that you want to give to the group?
Only that actually getting your DTM, your Pathways DTM, is a phenomenal thing. It's not just initials behind it. As I think her name was Ramona said earlier, it does change your opinion about things. I've done more mentoring and helping other people. I think if you get it, you'll find that you'll be sought after to help. And if you get it from the right place, it'll be a wonderful thing. I believe it'll help you in both your career, social life, and in other things. So get your DTM by Pathways. It's only 2 or 3 years. Take it easy.
All right, well, let's give Earl a round of applause and thank him for giving us a great presentation. Thank you, Earl. We appreciate it.